As I showed you, we hit on all 10 of our practices with only 3 types of assignments: labs, tests, and projects. So what happened to the other assessments such as quizzes, presentations, concept maps, competitive projects, etc.? Well, we ditched some of the activities that didn't fit with our learning progressions. We left some in as class activities and exercises that are no longer graded, but are good practice, like concept maps and problem sets. We tweaked some others to make them fit. For example, I changed our lab tasks to change them from problem-solving focus to a relationship focus. There's nothing saying that you can't still use all of your favorites. You can do the other things, but you may find that naturally they fall by the wayside, or you amend them to fit your practices. You'll decide what works best. The key is to always reference your learning progressions to make sure that everything you assign is tied to your desired outcomes. Perhaps a concrete example would be useful here. One of my favorite activities was the egg drop project, where students have to build a device out of some basic crafts materials that will protect an egg when dropped from a 2-meter height. I had a pretty cool scoring system where students could earn points for all sorts of things, but most notably was using their ranking in the class. They were competing with each other. But the way the project was written didn't allow it to fit any of my practices. So I changed it to an engineering design task, where they have to compete against themselves, creating 3 prototypes, each of which is better than the previous one. All of the specific rules and requirements for the assignment were described on the assignment page, such as this one and this one. I didn't change too much else. This now fit my learning progression for the engineering design cycle. A major repurposing of activities and lessons is for practice. Problem sets and quizzes become a chance to have the students learn how to use the learning progressions, self-assessing or with your guidance. The learning progressions are not something you could just pull out at the end of a unit or at the end of the year. They are something that we use nearly every lesson. Every activity has a purpose, and every assessment has its associated rubric. That does not mean that I grade everything that the students do. It means that we're always discussing what they can do all the time. Some practice is guided, where I model the desired product. I do this in class or record it on video so they can watch the modeling or check their work at their own pace. This is usually followed by what I call independent practice. After independent practice, they check their own work, again following my solutions, either live or recorded. I walk them through the rubric so that they can learn to self-assess. While going over the work, I often use that rubric to guide their responses so they can see the focus on the current level of achievement and start working on whatever is next for them. It's useful to structure the practice in the same manner as your other assessments. For example, my problem sets often have 4 questions, one for each of the 4 practices that I will be testing at the end of the unit. After each practice, we talk, usually with the students self-scoring. This gets them used to the format of the test, the rubric, and the meaning of each level. There is no benefit to giving themselves a higher score, since that score is just for their own use. After doing this a bunch of times, I might collect some work or just walk around to discuss their scoring. Sometimes I record it in my log, sometimes I don't. But I'm mostly just making sure they don't have any misconceptions about the meaning of the achievement levels. Since I have identified my core assessments as tests, labs, and projects, then I design my units around those items. Each unit must have labs, a project, and a unit test. Everything else we do becomes the supporting activities to master whatever skills or sub-skills we're working on. Most importantly, at all times, we highlight the necessary evidence to show achievement at the blank level. Fill in the blank with whatever level we're currently working on. Using learning progressions completely changed how I think about assessment, and students actually understand how to earn a particular score. And I don't have to score every single piece of work. I choose to have some work be self-scored, some are peer-reviewed, and some is just drill and practice. Now you have 2 practices with their learning progressions drafted, plus an idea how to align your assessments with your practices. In the remainder of this module, you can develop more learning progressions, refine the two you have already made, and/or examine your assessments to see how they align. When you examine your assessments, focus on one unit to see how you can apply your practices to your existing activities. Tweak what needs to be adjusted. In the next module, we will talk about what to do next.